Actually, I was going to continue on with my talk. Remember, I said I was going to do a three-month thing. This month subject is going to be racism. I've heard of this before. I proofread it, so it might be a couple of errors in it. But this is not a lesson to try to boast you up or pride, make you upset with someone or anything. It's just to make you recognize what's going on and try to get you to have an understand what's going on today when it comes to the mass incarceration with a lot of our people are going through. And just to bring a little light to it, and just a little chat, I wanted to talk about this month was going to start off as being slavery. It's going to talk about slavery, and from a different perspective from what most probably have talked about it. But since the Flint, Michigan thing occurred, I could not, or I did not want to talk about slavery now. I want to talk about what's really going on, and maybe we could look at the reasons why. So this I'm going to show you a little 50-second video, then a little minute video, and it's pretty interesting, but it should generate a conversation and a talk about what's going on. I thought this was really unique. When I first saw it, I had to show everybody at work, and they looked at me like I was crazy, but I thought it was cool though. So,
I want every white person in this room who would be happy to be treated as this society in general treats our citizens, our black citizens. If you, as a white person, would be happy to receive the same treatment that our black citizens do in this society, please stand. You didn't understand the directions. If you white folks want to be treated the way blacks are in this society, stand. Nobody's standing here. That says very plainly that you know what's happening. You know you don't want it for you. I want to know why you're so willing to accept it or to allow it to happen for others.
powerful. Now, have anybody ever heard of her, Jane Elliott? Okay, yeah. She did a test, and I'll talk about it in the beginning. She did an experiment, or a test, where she discriminated against people based on the physical attributes they had no control over. So she decided she was going to do what she called a blue-eye, brown-eye test. So anybody who had blue eyes was put in one section, and anyone that had brown eyes was put in another. And the ones that had blue eye were discriminated against. They was treated, they put them in a room, was only one chair, and there's like 20 of them, or two chairs, about 20 of them, allowed them to move the chairs, so they had to stand or sit on the floor, and it was making them uncomfortable. The brown-eyed people got served lunch and breakfast and all that, and when they brought the two groups together, she had already convinced the brown-eyed people to discriminate against them, make them feel stupid, make the blue-eyed people feel stupid. Well, of course, most people that have blue eyes are what we would consider white, okay? So, for a brief period of time, they got a chance to feel what it felt like to be discriminated against based on physical attributes that they had no control over. And the amazing thing about it, she said to this day, this was 40 or 50 years ago. 40 years ago. People still walk up to her mad and say, I can't stand you. Why? I got blue eyes. Okay, so people were still mad at the fact that they were discriminated against for an hour and a half test. Now, what made her do this, she was teaching her class, first and second graders, about Martin Luther King, and he was assassinated. And that upset her so much that she decided to do it to her class, the first and second graders. That's when she first started doing it. And the amazing thing happened. When she discriminated against the blue-eyed children, some of them were very, very smart. She said one had what she, I think she described it as on-track mind. I mean, once you gave her something, she knew it. But she had blue eyes. And when she ran this test on her students, come to find out, some of the students that had brown eyes, that was having all sorts of trouble in class, once they feel like they were the superior ones, they start getting everything correct. Reciting words that they didn't think they could pronounce. They just knew it. And the kid with the on-track mind, she was a minister's daughter, blue eyes. All of a sudden, she didn't know her arithmetic. She forgot multiplication. All this. This is a short period of time. So the reason why I bring this out is because of the fact that even that little microcosm of an instant in these people's lives, it affects them so tremendously. But what's going on with our children? What's going on with us? We feel it every day. Every day we feel it. We go through it. And so we have to get an understanding of the effects that it's having on our children as far as the ability to learn and what they're learning. So I thought that was amazing that the children had difficulties within a matter of days after they figured that they were inferior. So, in dealing with, when looking at that, that was just discrimination. That was just a prejudice of that time. Racism is something larger. Racism is a competition. Racism is a competition where one group of people want to take control of the resources, the needed resources, over another group of people. And the reason why I say it like that, because I'm trying to avoid using the word race, because that's a made-up word when it comes to dealing with people. We all are human. We just got some that are totally different, some that are very light, some that are very dark, some that have what we call extremely curly hair, which is named nappy, some that have straight hair. But we all are human. But for some reason, there's one group of people that wants to control everybody else. And that's where racism comes in. So, looking down at the bottom of my first page here, it says, it actually, racism, or how did it start? It actually started when the Europeans began to explore the globe and discovered people in other lands that were different from themselves. They also discovered these people that had weapons of war. Now, I wanted to clarify, this is not about slavery. So slavery had already been going on, but slavery wasn't based on skin color. Okay? Slavery was based on your social status. Whether you was in debt, you could have been a prisoner of war, or if you happened to fall under the Roman rule, if you wasn't citizens, you was almost treated like a slave. They could do anything to you. That was one of the issues that Jerusalem had with dealing with Rome. A Roman citizen also could kill a Hebrew, and so what? So that was what was going on. So those are the three criteria: debt, prisoner of war, or religious persecution that you were discriminated against. Well, once again, as they traveled around the globe, they came in contact. I put discovered. If you look at it, I put, they discovered people, but you can't discover people. You only come in contact with them. I can't run over to y'all house and hey, you feel like that. I discovered you. Everybody is here. Don't make any sense. make no sense whatsoever. So you can't discover people, but you come in contact with them. And once again, they realize they have weapons for war. Have anybody ever watched that movie Shaka Zulu? Now Shaka was really upset with the way they fought their war. Remember? Why do we throw our weapons away? That's what he had. Why do we throw our weapons away? Because they had spears. Well, the spear wasn't a weapon for war. A spear was a hunting weapon. So that's why. When Shaka decided to develop that little spear, that he was going to hold this thing. And the first time they attacked Africans, they just gave up because they've never seen anybody slaughtered like that. That was the mentality of the people. So once they realized they didn't have weapons of war, they decided that they was going to capture some people, bring them back to their homeland, and when they did it, when they brought some Africans back to their homeland, they gave them to the Pope. Pope saw this, hey, I'm going to bless y'all with all this land, the whole north coast of Africa, you can have it. It ain't his land, but he's just going to give it to somebody. So, after that, people started trying, hey, you know what? We bring the Pope these people, he's going to give us land. He's going to reward us. So they started doing that, started giving people land. So after that, once he got a certain amount of people, the Pope decided that he was going to bless them to enslave Africans. It was going to be okay to enslave Africans. This is the first time in basically history that slavery was based on race. This was Pope Charles V of Spain. He blessed Spain and Portugal to enslave the Africans. I put blacks there, but the Africans in 1441. So this is the beginning of racism, because this is the first time that things was based on the made-up word race. So race-based enslavement was created by the Catholic Church. Now, the Europeans knew the intellectual and educational level of the Africans. Why? Because they were being taught by the Africans for a very long period of time. The Moors taught Spain, the Egyptians, or the Commission, however you want to call it, whatever you want to call them, taught Greek and Rome. So they knew that they weren't dealing with people that were dumb or didn't know stuff or whatever. They knew what they were dealing with. But they decided that they will do this anyway. The Catholic Church had such influence that they were able to push that out anyway. Just capture them, like I say, they made it race-based. So, if you look at the history of Europe, they did this to almost everybody they came into contact with. The Indians of Asia, the Indians here in Americas, the Orientals, but when they got to the Africans, they treated them the worst because they put them into the chattel slavery. And don't want to go into slavery because I want to talk about it another time, so I'm just going to basically just touch it. They put them in chattel slavery, which was the worst form of enslavement in the history of the world. No one has ever been treated in that fashion for such a long period of time. Now, the Native Americans were treated that way for a shorter period of time, but it was just as intense, if not worse, than some of the things that they did to them. So, racism. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot one thing. One of the things that the Europeans did discover is that when they produce offsprings with the people they came in contact with, that the offsprings looked more like the other people, the other parents. Okay, or the whomever they made it with, they came out looking more like them. became a genetic thing. So now, here's where the system starts. This is where the system has to be created. Because not only are we economically dependent on this labor, on what's going on, because if you really read the history of Europe, they were poor. They were starving. They had a lot of issues. So actually, the enslavement of people, the way it is, looking like themselves, their family, and they want to keep you basically away from that, and then also, they want their money. They want to live the life they've been living. So they develop a system to keep certain people from making certain strides in life. That's the system of racism and white supremacy. Now, they separate everybody based on skin color, hair texture, and ethnicity. So what are the effects or the effects of racism? Now, if you look at what I have there on that page, I got two sheriff's medals. It's hard to see, but the black and white one is actually a plantation police and runaway slave patrol. The one on the right is a sheriff, and it says 375 years of service. Now, for the sheriff to have 375 years of service, how far back does that take you? It takes you back to the slave patrol. Now we start to see our issues that we're starting to have, or that we have, because it's still the same system, just under a different name. Okay, it's still the same system. So, the effects of racism, it runs deep, it's generational. Okay, things that were normal for other people were criminal offenses for blacks. Okay, if you remember, it was illegal for us to learn. Slavery was legal. So it was illegal for you to be free. It was illegal for you to walk around with a tool in your hand. It was illegal for you to have a weapon. It was illegal for you to defend yourself. Another thing is in our communities today, let's bring it up to the day right quick. A lot of our issues that we have in our communities are health issues, but they're considered criminal offenses. In other words, let's look at the drug issue. If you go to a lot of what I would call your rich folks, if they have a drug issue, they go to rehab. We have a drug issue, we go to prison. So a lot of the issues that we have in our community, based on the history, everyone has it. It's just that we're treated different when we have it. You know, one of the things I thought about was murder. Think about murder for a second. When, and once again, I can't help but use the race thing. When a black commits a murder, he's going to prison. The question is how long or whether or not he's going to get the death sentence. And also that's based on who he kills. Okay? A white commits a murder, he may go to prison, but if they could prove he's crazy, guess what? He goes to an insane asylum. It's a medical issue. All this affects how people perceive our legal system. So now, if you have a system that seems to be developed unfairly, you almost don't want to follow that system. Believe me, our youths are not stupid. They realize what's going on. So it's hard for them to fall into this system because they realize it's not designed for us.
our criminal justice system is working as intended. It is only broken to the extent that our society is broken. If your intention is to, jail massive numbers of people, if you believe that prison is an effective means of dealing with the myriad social needs of the African American community, then it's pretty effective. In fact, there's a long history in this country of dealing with problems in the African American community through criminal justice system, criminalizing social problems in a way that we don't do in other communities. For instance, if you looked at the research, you would find that somewhere around 60 to 70% of the people in prisons and in jails are suffering some sort of mental health problem. Upwards of 50% going there dealing with some sort of chemical dependency. Viewed from another lens, these are public health problems. One could look at the massive number of African American men who are out of work, and the intersection between that and prison. Or one could look at where prisons are located. And you would find that a lot of times prisons are located in rural regions, where all other industries effectively shut down. And you might think of that as actually an employment problem and not a criminal justice problem. The enduring view of African Americans in this country is as a race of people who are prone to criminality. I mean, literally, we have the notion of black people as, criminals written into our Constitution. We have a fugitive slave clause, which effectively makes all the things that are normal for any other American in that period illegal for black people. To pursue your own freedom was illegal. Slavery, was enforced by the criminal justice system, the slave laws. It made, very, very ordinary things like learning to read effectively a criminal act. Frederick Douglass is an escaped slave. He's a criminal. He's stolen his body, as he says in one of his speeches. Harriet Tubman, is running a massive criminal conspiracy, stealing people. I know we all love Martin Luther King today, but in his time, by, the highest powers in the American justice system, Martin Luther King was viewed as a criminal by J. Edgar Hoover. Arguably, perhaps by the Kennedy administration and the Johnson administration. I say that because they signed off on the bugging, of his home and wherever he was. The lens of criminal justice is the way this country has traditionally regarded black people. I don't know that anything is broken at all. The deeper question is: are we okay with something on the order of 4,000 African American males per 100,000 being in jail? Are we okay with that? Are we okay with there being a 1 in 3 chance for every African American male born in this generation of eventually doing some sort of time in prisons and in jail? Are we all right with that? And that goes to the deeper question of: are we all right with black people in the position that they are in our society? Or do we have some sort of long-term commitment to justice?
And those are some powerful questions. Are we okay with this situation that we have going on? One of the things that's going on that happens, once again, like I pointed out with the students, it is difficult for our children to learn the way that they should, based on not only the subject matter and what they're learning, but the way that it's being taught. Now, how many have, well, I know probably only, well, we probably have, some of us have kids that's old enough that went through this, but the kid come home and they got a grade that's not that good, and the excuse is the teachers don't like me. Have anybody heard that? Okay. One of the things that you have to understand, that there's something that's in us, and you see it every day. One, we love to hug, we love to touch, we love to see, we love to acknowledge each other. When we're walking down the street, as a black male, I can see somebody I don't even know, and I'm gonna give him a nod. What's up? How's it going? You see a sister, you sort of bow your head down like, how you doing? Just the way we are. We expect a relationship. There's an African saying. Can't remember the words, but it's I see you. And that's what we're doing when we nod our head and say, what's up? I see you. So it's really important in the relationship. So what I'm getting at is when our children go to school, guess what? They expect a relationship from their teacher. And if they don't receive their relationship, they have an issue with the teacher. And it makes it more difficult for them to learn. So the education is coming more from the home, which it should, than from the school, because of the fact they don't feel that relationship. That's why they say the teacher don't like me. Now that's what you would call a lot of times when, and I know we feel it. I'm gonna ask this: how many times have you walked into a room, predominantly white or predominantly of another culture, and everybody look at you like you crazy, like what are you doing here? Or you walk up to somebody, or you walk past somebody, say, how you doing? And their initial reaction, they turn a deep red, the colors get flushed, and then after being around you, the flushness leave, and then they start talking. That's what you call a subtle contempt. Our children go through that, we go through that. We know that this person has some type of animosity when they first see us. But somehow or another, we can talk, we can be nice, and we get rid of it. And then they're okay, the flushness comes away, and all that. The reason why I bring up that is because that's what happens with a lot of times when our young youth or young black males come in contact with police officers. There's a subtle contempt that comes out. The tone of voice or the treatment of them is totally different than what they would do for someone else. The young male might feel this, and then he's like, look, I ain't backing down from you, I don't care if you're an officer or whatever. And then we have the shooting, so we have what's going on. That's happening. So, looking at that, we have to understand that this is a culture that we have to bring down. We have to address these simple issues. But how did we get here? How did we get to this big racial divide where it's almost as if it's 100%. It's not, but it's almost as if it's like that. When you go back into history and you look at servitude versus enslavement, everybody first started off as servitude before they started enslaving. But as they began to enslave, the people that was in servitude and the people that were enslaved worked side by side. And relationships began to develop. So they had to develop a system to say, oh, no, can't do that. That's illegal. So what occurred was that whites will get punished. Poor whites will get punished for treating blacks fairly, or treating them with respect. So in other words, if I was white and I called Pastor Mike Mr. Franklin, and someone else heard it, then I was in trouble. You better not show him respect. So that's how they got the divide going. And these are the walls we have to break down. These are the things we have to address. And we have to address it by attacking the system head on. What I mean, this is a very stout and tall tree. If you look at racism as a tall tree. Now, how do we get the tall tree down? You can't go up to the top and start pulling off branches. One, the tree is too big, there's too many branches. We gotta go for it at the root. That's attacking exactly why they set the system up, exactly how they're educating it, and they're keeping it reinforced. The reinforcement comes in when they teach that, was it next week, the 15th, is President's Day. President's Day, let me put it this way, the first 11 presidents owned slaves. How could they be our heroes? They can't be. They did something for this nation, but they can't be our heroes. The Congress, all these people have enacted that. You look at what's going on today. Look at things that Donald Trump now he has done or what he says. When you look at the conservatives, they're going to say, hey, we're going to take our country back. Take your country back from who? And from what? But we sit silently by, and we don't say much. And the thing that got me started on this, that I could not wait to talk about this, was Flint, Michigan. Proves that even if we are a racially dominating group of people in the city, we still have no power. Flint, Michigan shows us our lack of power. The reason why I say that is because they're still billing them people for the poison water. To this day, they gotta pay their water bill. They can't drink it. They showing all these, going around giving away bottles of water. It's not enough to bathe with. It's not enough to wash your hair. It's not enough to drink for families. So, the families are still forced to touch their water. They knew about it and didn't tell the people. There's no one arrested, no one in jail behind this. And if you know there's gross negligence, if you know anything about it, these people should be arrested. Start from the government. The choice school system, they start showing pictures of that. And then they say, well, the kids don't learn there. They got the lowest grades and we shouldn't put money in it. Well, we already know if you got mold, you get sick in your house, right? So you got mold in a building that's full of kids. Those kids are sick. And you compound it with lead poisoning and all that. It's a sad situation, but we have to address it. We do have to address it. One of the things that I put down as a symptom of racism is that our youth can't evolve. They can't develop. They can't grow. I didn't go through my paper because I can't see. So I had to talk off the top of my head. But I can't see. But then, are there any questions or anything that's on anybody's mind that's dealing with what's going on today? No? Because one of the things I want to point out is it's not about dividing. It's about coming together. Because you can't come together, or you can't expect to come together if you don't address the issues that's infecting so many people of this society. No questions?
Word and lesson. Any comments, any questions, anything?
Yes, like I said, it's an amazing subject, though, when you look at it. It's an amazing subject. It's unfortunate a lot of stuff that's going on, but it's really an amazing subject when you look at it, and especially if you have people with open minds that you could talk to. You have a guy at work, that every time he sees something on TV that's not quite right, he runs up to me. John, I gotta get your opinion on this. Honestly, I give my opinion now, just it's not about hate. It's unfortunate that a lot of these things are going on.
Your lesson. Thank you, brother.
Thank you.
It's always wonderful. Again, we got to teach and coming from all different angles so that we can, like you said, root it out, learn. Good lesson. Any questions on Sister Latasha's work? Before we get out of here.
Does anyone have any questions or comments? We thank God for both lessons on tonight. You can't know where you're going unless you know where you came from. A lot of things that supposedly we're free from, they just learn how to live it better. So we got to be aware, as we approach life and go through life, we've got to be aware of what's going on around us and not be like with our options, with a head stuck in the sand, just believe everything they tell us. A lot of times there is hidden agendas I do thank God for the message that Deacon brought up today, as well as Sister Tasha. Because we have to be aware moving forward. Because everyone is patting your back, don't mean they got your best interests at heart. They're trying to get in your confidence to do what they want to do. So let's be prayerful, be prayerful for leadership, be prayerful for the deacons and everyone, that, God continue to, send us these messages, just help us stay aware. If there's nothing else, we'll stand and be dismissed in the word of prayer. I'm going to ask us to one seal, just listen